Far above the clouds, atop the distant Archdragon Peak, resides Lord Gwyn's firstborn. He was a figure erased from history for the crime of siding with the ancient dragons. Every statue was shattered, and every account of him was burned. Yet, he upheld the utmost respect and honor. Nobody knew his name, and so, the legend began of the man we know today simply as the Nameless King. But the reality is, you are afraid to do what he did. You are afraid to take back control of your own life. While I cannot predict what specifically holds you back, but I hope that by the end of this video, we can strip that fear away. To understand the Nameless King, we must first understand a concept that is fading into obscurity in our modern, hyper-connected world: the ability to think for yourself. The mark of a great man is not defined by how much money he has in his bank account. It is defined by his agency, which is the ability to think for yourself. But thinking for yourself is often confused with selfishness. So let's dismantle that idea. First, is thinking for yourself ultimately selfish? Yes, it is. Second, is that selfishness necessary for survival? Absolutely. Third, can that selfishness be used to do good beyond just yourself? This is the critical step most people miss. Having the agency to think for yourself means you're capable of survival. Once you can survive, you can take on responsibility. You can carry the burden of others. The natural progression of life proves that you must be able to think for yourself before you can ever hope to think for a family, a community, or a kingdom. We see this in our own upbringing. As a child, your parents placed restrictions on you. This was your tutorial area per se. And it made sense because you can't protect yourself yet. So how could they trust you with the open world? But as we grew older, the restrictions lifted. They trusted you to leave your home. They trusted you to make decisions. Ultimately, they trust you to live your own life and start a family. This freedom comes from experience. But here is the second bottleneck. Is experience the same thing as age? My answer is not exactly. It is true that society uses age as a metric. But the true parameter for experience is actually exposure. Wisdom is time. Experience is action. You wouldn't seek war advice from a soldier who has lived for 80 years but never left the barracks. You would seek it from the warrior who has seen the battlefield. Thinking for yourself is a continuous cycle of decision and analysis. It is the mentality of a lion, a topic I will cover in a future video. But for now, this sets the ground for the most important question. What happens when you don't think for yourself? The fear you feel isn't actually the fear of making a wrong decision. The true fear is making a wrong decision that wasn't yours. If a decision is imposed on you and it leads to ruin, you develop a victim mentality. You blame the world, you blame the game. But wrong decisions are acceptable if you were the one who made them. Let's say you are playing Dark Souls 3. You follow a guide to find a secret item, but the guide is outdated and it leads you to a dead end, which wastes an hour. Now you're furious and you feel cheated. But if you explore that path yourself and hit that dead end because you chose to go left instead of right, well then you won't be angry because you're learning. You accept the failure because it belongs to you. Consider the boss progression. Even in a linear game like Dark Souls 3, you have a choice. Do you fight the Crystal Sages or do you rush the Abyss Watchers? If you rush the Watchers and get crushed because you are under-leveled, you accept the defeat. Well, why? Because you chose the challenge. If the game forced you into an impossible fight, you would call it bad design. But because you chose it, you call it a lesson. This is the power of agency. And this is exactly what the Nameless King understood. The Nameless King was divinely conceived for a purpose: to wage war against the ancient dragons. His entire existence was a script written by his father, Lord Gwyn. He inherited the lightning, the strength, and the predisposition for war. By all accounts, he should have been the perfect soldier. He should have followed the guide. But he looked at the world, a world where his father refused to cede to the natural order. And he made a choice. He realized that the war for disparity was won. Yet, Gwyn's fear of the dark was driving the world to ruin. And so, the god of war allied with the very dragons he was born to hunt. This was not a decision made out of weakness. It was the ultimate act of high agency. He sacrificed his status, he sacrificed his inheritance. Gwyn expunged him from the annals of history and smashed his altars beyond recognition. He lost his name, but he gained his self. And this is where the magic happens. You fear that if you think for yourself, if you deviate from the path society or your parents set for you, then you will end up alone. But look at the Nameless King. Even after his erasure, faith found a way. Ornstein, the captain of Gwyn's 4 knights, eventually abandoned his post at the Grand Cathedral. He left behind the illusion of glory to search for the master he respected. When you trust your own wisdom, you do not repel people, you attract those who value the truth. The Nameless King even earned the trust of the Storm Drake, a beast he once hunted. And they fought as one. He built a sanctuary at Archdragon Peak, a place where dragons and their kin could live in peace. He didn't need Gwyn's first flame to be a king. He became a king because he defined his own kingdom. So, if a god of war can abandon his divine purpose to follow his own moral compass, what is stopping you from choosing your own degree, your own career, your own life? The statues may break and the names may be forgotten, but the legacy of a man who thinks for himself, that is what truly survives the age of fire. And I am assuming and even expecting that you, watching this video, are between the age of 18 and 30. This is the most critical phase of your life where developing the ability to think for yourself will save you from much bigger mistakes later in life. Making mistakes and taking wrong decisions might feel heavy now, but that weight is nothing compared to what you will suffer if you don't learn how to think for yourself. You, just as I, are in an intermediate stage of your life. The most drastic changes are about to happen, and if you take them while thinking for yourself, you sure will be a great man. I hope that my vision behind making this video resonated with you, and I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll make sure to respond to each one of you in a meaningful way, so that together we become better. With that, I have a special outro for you. Hope you like it. See you in the next one. Take care. He didn't need Gwyn's first flame to be a king. He became a king because he defined his own kingdom. And so, the legend began of the man we know today simply as the Nameless King.